Hi, and welcome to Charlotte Talks Transformers, where we'll be taking a look at Transformers Animated Episode 7, Thrill of the Hunt. And are we sure this is a kid's show? Because this does not seem like a kid's show. Yeah, in this episode, we get to be introduced to actually quite a few new characters, quite a few new developments as to sort of the Great War that went on way back in the day. I'll start off where we see a strange muscle car that's causing blackouts in the city of Detroit and just sort of like going around causing a bit of trouble. We, as the audience, know right away this is no normal car. Like right away I was like, that's a Decepticon. Don't know which Decepticon, but that's a Decepticon. I was right, of course. The Autobots did not know this and continue to sort of go around the city like trying to find this guy and trying to stop him. So meanwhile, during all this stuff going on, with the Autobots trying to catch this unknown muscle car, as they call him, he's the muscle car, Ratchet keeps having flashbacks to the past and to some stuff that we haven't seen yet, which was really fascinating. We get to see basically a time when Ratchet was actually fighting in the war against the Decepticons. And I know it's been brought up in the past that Ratchet was actually, I don't really know, I guess he was a field medic back in the day. So we sort of start off with that plot line where Ultra Magnus is ordering Ratchet to bring RC back because she has access codes to something we don't know what she has access codes to. So we actually see Ratchet and RC being kidnapped by Lockdown back in the day during the Great War. And Lockdown is actually going to sell the information in RC's head to Megatron, like Megatron himself. So back to the present time, poor Optimus Prime gets kidnapped, and let me just say, Optimus Prime is thoroughly useless in this episode. He serves the purpose of damsel in distress in this episode. I really don't think he does anything noteworthy, and all the other characters, amazing badasses this episode, particularly Ratchet. Prowl sort of realizes that, oh my goodness, our leader has been kidnapped and we need to find out where this dude is. It turns out that he's actually hiding under holograms. His ship is sort of being camouflaged as a random warehouse A. So they go to random warehouse A and confront this guy. It's like, sort of, where's our leader, da 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 da. A couple of really good fight scenes happen, particularly against Prowl and Lockdown. You can tell they're fairly equally matched, and there's some there's a really awesome scene where they're fighting and it's clear they're on a level, and so Prowl gets sort of backed up into like a garbage heap, and then he grabs like a metal pole of some kind. It's like a staff. He's using it as a staff. He's like rolling it around, tries to hit Lockdown with it. Lockdown breaks it in half. All of a sudden now he's got two little I don't even know what you call these things. They're like sticks that you hit people with. I'm sure there's like a Japanese name for those because I'm pretty sure that's a Japanese style weapon. But anyways, it was a pretty cool scene. So Optimus is in Lockdown's possession, and we find out that Lockdown is a bit of a... He likes to collect trophies, I guess, every time he captures an Autobot or just any sort of person. He takes a bit of a trophy from them. And we find out that the trophy that he actually took from Ratchet last time he was sort of fighting against him was his EMP. Ratchet actually fights with, I brought this up before, a sort of electromagnetic thing that lives in his arm. Ratchet's original weapon, although it was a medical device, was an EMP. That kind of becomes a bit relevant later on in the episode. But suffice to say, Lockdown has the EMP, and he's using the EMP to, well, first kidnap Optimus Prime and then keep him kidnapped. And he's all like, ooh, this is a fancy axe you got, bruh. I'm gonna take your axe from you. And he's like, by the way, grappling hook. And I knew right off the bat, I'm like, Optimus is kidnapped by a trophy hunter. He's gonna try and take his grappling hook, isn't he? And he did. And I was like, no, not the grappling hook. So, well, minor spoilers, the grappling hook does not end up getting taken. We see the grappling hook at the end, and I was like, thank goodness you can't take the grappling hook from me. Can I just say that flashback episodes are really effing hard? This is, it's really difficult to keep track of the narrative. A little bit of snippet, we do learn that while RC is being held by, well, RC and Ratchet got kidnapped by Lockdown on command of Megatron, who wants the information in RC's head. We actually get to see what happened with Ratchet's chevron being broken, because he's got that real old look about him. We're like, he's got this red, I guess it's like maybe a medical chevron, I don't know. But anyways, half of it's like broken off, and we find out that it was actually in the confrontation with Lockdown that got broken. And I'm just kind of thinking, I'm like, couldn't they have fixed that? They got pretty good medical technology. Like, they have space flight, they have space bridge technology, they've got, I'm assuming, like maybe ground bridge technology. You can't fix a little cosmetic doohickey. Like, maybe he kept it in memory of the war or something like that. That's actually another feature of this episode is Optimus kind of wants Ratchet to talk about the war a little bit, and Ratchet is really hesitant to talk about it. Everyone knows that he participated in the war, but I guess like a lot of people that do, he is really reluctant to talk about his experiences. And so when it actually comes time to confront Lockdown, Ratchet stays out of the fight. He doesn't really want to have anything to do with it, and he eventually does change his mind and come to help, but he flashbacks through most of it to what happened with RC. What happened with RC was actually a little bit kind of horrible, actually. We find out that while they're in possession of Lockdown, Ratchet actually has to use the EMP to wipe her memories because there's no way for them to escape in time. And so RC's like, please, you have to do this. The information I have is too sensitive. Like, if the Decepticons get it, it could really hurt the war effort. And Ratchet actually EMPs her at full blast, and we find out completely erases her memories, which was very traumatizing to Ratchet, and explains a lot of his reluctance to talk about the events of the war, quite understandably, I think. But that's a very mature storyline, I think, for a kid's show. It's not something you see tackled very often, veterans of wars and PTSD sort of coming back and their unwillingness to talk about the things that they've experienced. I thought that was like really heavy and a very interesting subject for a kid's show to talk about, because of course we know that Autobots and Decepticons engage in a war, but so rarely do they show us the long-term effects of the war. And I guess kudos to the show for doing that, because I've seen quite a few other iterations of Transformers that never really seem to touch on it. You know, it's like Autobots, Decepticons, they fight and people die, and then they just kind of move on with their lives. So it's nice to see them kind of tackling, I guess, all the regrets that you would have, you know? Like, RC didn't even die, she just got her memory wiped, and even all these many years on, it's still affecting Ratchet. So, like, good for them for not sort of shying away from that. A lot of kid shows would just sort of really gloss over that, and they did not, so, you know, good on them. Sort of switching subjects a little bit now. Back to the rescue at hand. Ratchet actually kind of comes and saves the day, which this, I'm assuming you're understanding at this point that this is a Ratchet-centric episode. Ratchet has a real moment this episode where Prowl is defeated, Bulkhead is defeated, Bumblebee's defeated, Optimus Prime is being held as a damsel, and Ratchet comes in, and at first it just sort of looks like, oh my goodness, like, Ratchet, what are you doing? Stop, like, this guy's clearly out of your league, like, you're just gonna get whooped. And at the start it looks like he is gonna get whooped, and I was a little nervous. But he did what he called playing possum, and then he made a joke where he's like, humans call that playing possum. Don't ask me what a possum is. So Lockdown takes him down, or what he thinks is takes him down. He sort of, I guess, turns his back a little bit, and then Ratchet comes back with his electromag pulses and just, like, throws a car on Lockdown and pins him with a car. And I'll be damned if it didn't look like he was kind of torturing him a little bit. It was a bit mature. I was like, oh my goodness, this whole episode was so heavy. Like, oh my goodness. Writers, you need to slow down. So Ratchet ends up actually getting his EMP back from Lockdown, because Lockdown was using the EMP against him, and Ratchet actually got really angry. He's like, this used to be a medical tool and you're bastardizing it and using it as a weapon. Rah. And yeah, he kind of, he just sort of defeats Lockdown in kind of a really cool moment. And probably the coolest part was actually the music that plays while he's doing it, but I'll get to the music later because I need to just talk about that. So Ratchet goes, saves Optimus, and they don't really resolve anything with Lockdown. Basically, the flow was unknown muscle car. They find out he's locked down. They go to the warehouse. Bumblebee, Prowl, and Bulkhead, they all get thoroughly whooped. Optimus being held hostage in this disguised ship. Ratchet comes in, whoops Lockdown, goes into the ship, rescues Optimus, and then Lockdown and his ship just sort of fly off into nowhere. They don't really cover what happens to him afterwards. There's not a lot of resolution, so I'm assuming very probably correctly that he's going to be showing up again. So yeah, my goodness, there was a lot of stuff going on in this episode. And Blitzwing, I think I might have briefly mentioned him earlier, I can't honestly remember, but the whole purpose of him kidnapping Optimus was to sell Optimus to Blitzwing, who now we finally have confirmation that the Decepticons are still out there, because up until this point, we've seen Megatron's head, and we've seen Starscream, but we didn't really know what was going on with the rest of the Decepticon forces, so now we have actual confirmation the Decepticons are out there, and they're pretty angry at Optimus Prime for taking down Megatron, even though Optimus tried to say it wasn't me, it was Starscream, and no one was hearing that. So, last thing I want to touch on, really, is the music, because, whoa.
You know, I'm starting to appreciate those magnetic powers of yours. I might just have to clear a new spot on the trophy case.
They really kicked it up a notch this episode. I don't really know what... Like, I'm not a music person, but it sounded like a lot of freaking awesome guitars. Actually, music person, chime in.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
The that was playing, you know, the badass... you're useless.
Thanks.
He's not useless. He is an audio person, though. But they were playing some really awesome sort of almost metal music during a lot of the lockdown scenes. I don't know if that's his theme song, but whoa, like the story is going up here, the animation is going up here, and now the music is like joining it, and just whoa, this series, like, you need to just give me another filler episode. This is a lot to take in, you know? Actually, don't give me another filler episode. I want more of this. So yeah, between the fight scenes, the music, the introduction of this new character, all that we learned about the war, like, oh my goodness, Ratchets, like his story and his experiences with RC, just tons of stuff happening. So watch this episode, you know, like whatever you're doing right now, don't do that, watch this episode. It's a darn good episode. Probably, I almost want to say my favorite episode so far. Like the Grimlock episode last time, that was friggin' good. This episode is a bit better. I don't know. I can't really think of anything more to say about it, but please leave a comment, subscribe. I would love to hear what you have to say about this episode, because this episode was so good. All right, bye.